DK Audio presents Books That Changed History by DK, read by Gordon Griffin.
Forward. The afternoon light fades in the scriptorium, where a monk works patiently in silence at his long table. He has a line of pots for his colours, ultramarine and azurite, white lead and verdigris, cuttlefish ink and cochineal, madder and the rich red known as dragon's blood, and boxes for his precious gold and silver leaf. The single illuminated letter on the page in front of him has already been shaped in burnished gold. Over many hours the paints will turn it into a picture that will gleam for hundreds of years. Polish the lens of memory a little more, and think of a group of men somewhere near the geographical heart of Europe in the middle of the 15th century, gathered in a workshop rather than a monastery, and standing around a simple wooden machine. One of them pulls on a long handle to turn a thick screw that lowers the flat platen so that it presses down on a sheet of dampened paper. After a few moments, when the screw is turned the other way, to release the frame that holds the paper in place, they see before them, printed by perfectly ordered type, a page of Gutenberg's Bible. These are scenes from a story that springs forward to the 18th century libraries in great houses, where men of means built high shelves for their leather-bound books. The first novels in English, travelogues, and beautifully illustrated descriptions of flora and fauna, perhaps a precious copy of Robert Hooke's Micrographia from the previous century, and certainly Dr. Johnson's dictionary. The classical texts are all there, from Homer and the histories of Herodotus to Ovid and Virgil. And then, within 100 years, books were finding their way into ordinary homes. Perhaps they were borrowed from Mudie's travelling library, where people could get the new novel from Charles Dickens or Wilkie Collins, or maybe Darwin's On the Origin of Species. Mr. Mudie had ordered 500 copies before publication, because Darwin was a customer. In the Victorian parlour, beside the piano, there were books. An idea had been born that would one day be called the mass market. Science and politics, history and travel, natural exploration, as well as literature, would be available to everyone. When Allen Lane published his first Penguin editions, with the orange covers that became an emblem of literacy between the two world wars, he was a pioneer in the fight to set free the liberal imagination. In the paperback era, everyone could learn, explore the past, and revel in a fictional world that knew no boundaries, taking them from the 19th century novel to Joyce and the poetry of Eliot, to stories and thrillers of all kinds, and even, at the end of the century, to an unlikely boy touched by magic and destined to be an entertainer both for children and their parents and grandparents all around the world. Yet, this is only the story as it is told in Europe. The veneration of Greek and Roman art and literature in the Renaissance, and the power of the Christian tradition, obscured the written legacies of other civilizations. From India, the Mahabharata, maybe the longest epic poem of them all, and philosophy from China, learned and beautifully crafted Persian books on medicine and astronomy, and mathematics in Arabic. The artistry of these texts, like the luminous brilliance of a medieval book of hours in Europe, is the indestructible evidence of our collective desire to find permanent physical expression for the scope of our imaginations, a never-ending quest. Everyone who responds to the beauty of the calligraphy and illustration in these early books, and the sheer confidence and energy that flows from the pages, is reminded that every book is an act of creation, whether it is a novel, a history, a scientific theory, a religious text, or a piece of polemic. Old or new, the books selected for this volume have changed lives and remind us who we are. They are both mirror and lamp, reflecting us to ourselves with remorseless honesty, and also shining light in dark places, the unknown or the dangerous. We find our own fears in books as surely as we find solace and escape. To love a book is to get to know a friend whom you want to keep despite everything. We all have
Sample complete. Ready to continue?